Truck Talk Media.
C10 Talk, episode 332. Mr. David, double D, Carroll, double C, double R, double R, double L, NorCal Garage, dad, husband, son, businessman, and racer. Here we go.
But if I do it, the Blazer's going to be faster, a lot faster, and I'm not holding back.
Damn, son. Auto Metal Direct, the leader in premium OE-style restoration parts for classic Chevy and GMC trucks. If you're building a C10, a K10, maybe a square body, AMD manufactures high-quality sheet metal, trim, glass, and restoration components designed for OE-style fit and factory-correct body lines. These aren't generic panels. AMD develops its own tooling using modern manufacturing processes to deliver consistent stampings and proper gauge steel, built for builders who care about doing it right. Damn, son. Whether you're restoring a 67 to 72, bringing a square body back from the brink, or finishing off a clean driver, AMD supports the trucks and the community we talk about here on the pod. Check them out at autometaldirect.com and follow them on social media to see product features, installs, and behind-the-scenes manufacturing content. Auto Metal Direct, investing in the trucks and the people that make this community so damn awesome.
Let me tell you what Melbourne Post is packing right here. I've got 411 posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, scored over 30, 11-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some fucking muscle.
What does that do? Did that blow your mind? That just happened.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 truck podcast.
And now I have a chance to be the best, maybe the best in the world.
My old man is a television repairman. Got this ultimate set of tools. I can fix it.
I said I got 50 cents in that jukebox, and all I can hear is your mouth flapping. You hear that?
Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
What is up? What is up, C10 Nation? Hopefully you guys are having a great summer, getting some shows in, some traveling, some family, some fun, and Hot Rod Power Tour, the great Mother Road trip. I think they had Square Body Day up in Lincoln, Montana, so many different events going on, and yeah, we're just blessed right now. We got a lot of really cool shows going on, and get out, support those folks that are putting those together, and get out and enjoy your car, your truck, whatever it is that you're doing. Out here in AZ, hot as hell. So not a lot of road trips for us. We've got some different shows to talk about. Hopefully you guys enjoyed 331, which was our Moab coverage. Best show going, man. The vibe, the views, just so hard to beat. And what Chase does to benefit the search and rescue crews and teams out there. I mean, he donated over $70,000. Check out 3031, which was the Moab coverage put on by the C10 Club Utah, Red Rock Retreat, C10 Club Red Rock Retreat, or the C10 Red Rock Retreat. So let's get into what's coming up. It looks like July 11th, C10's at the Lake, and that's in Vancouver, Washington. C10's at the Lake, July 11th. I believe their IG is C10's at the Lake 2026. July 17th and 18th, SCTN, which is Southeastern Truck Nationals, and that is in Tennessee, July 17th and 18th, a two-day humdinger. July 18th, that same weekend, C10 Club Oregon out west is going to have the Family Affair. Family Affair, C10 Club Oregon. July 24th and 25th, you've got the Slowdown, and that's in San Luis Obispo. Great weather. You come over the hill, boom, you're on the ocean, you're on the beach, you're on the golf course. Slow Down 2026, July 24th and 25th coming at you. How about Idaho? Snake River Truck Show, Idaho Falls. That's going to be August 14th and 15th. Snake River Truck Show. That same weekend, August 15th, C10's on the Capitol, Olympia, Washington. Todd and Jen Manchester, C10 Club Washington put that one on. That's August 15th, C10's on the Capitol. Pacific Northwest got a lot going on. September 5th, Classic Truck Nationals, Gainesville, Texas. It's a busy weekend. You've got one in Texas, September 5th and 6th, the 2-day whammer. You've got C10 Intervention up in Woodland, and so they do that on the Labor Day weekend. The 5th is going to be the Saturday Night Cruise. The 6th is the truck show on a Sunday. That same weekend, you've got Southern Illinois Truck Show, which is September 4th and 5th. So the Friday, Saturday. SITS, Southern Illinois Truck Show, September 4th and 5th. You could check all those out on IG. I think I did an okay job there of listing the different IGs with the different shows. Pretty much every weekend throughout, whether you're Pacific Northwest, whether you're Illinois, Tennessee, Cali, Idaho, got a lot of coverage there throughout. So that Labor Day weekend is going to be a busy one for sure. All right, guys, have a great week. Enjoy episode 332 with David Carroll. Late.
All right, what up, C10 Nation? How about Mr. NorCal Garage? We've got David, double D, Carroll, 1C, double R, double L, DC, NorCal Garage, coming at you. You've been on fire, my brother, so I know this has been a long time coming. I can't wait to talk to you about your journey, not only the Blazer, but how the hell you got to where you are. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule, family, life, work, hobby, and sitting down with the C10 Nation.
Yeah. Thank you, Ronnie. I really appreciate it. Thank you for this time. I look forward to this chat.
Yeah, let's chat it up. I can't remember if it was like Mikey or who said, hey, this buddy of mine's got this camouflage Blazer and he's going to build this pro touring autocross machine. And at that time, I want to say you might have had another truck or something and you were doing it and then you were evolving over to the Blazers. How did you get into cars and trucks? And then what's your backstory? You're up in NorCal, obviously. And have you been a C10 Blazer autocross fanatic?
So I'm up in Morgan Hill, California, just south of San Jose. Been here most of my life. And really, my passion came through my dad. He was a boat racer back in the late 60s, early 70s. High power boats that he should have been killed in, honestly. So growing up, those kind of stories, always being in the garage with him, wrenching, he's teaching me things. So that's where my passion came from, with just being around engines. I grew up with go-karts and dirt bikes, and we lived out in the country where we are on a couple acres. So you never found me inside, I'll tell you that. I played with Legos every once in a while, but I was outside in the dirt behind a wheel somewhere. So that's always been my drive, is to be behind the wheel. As far as cars go, it started at an early age, probably around 8 to 10. I had a guy down the street from me where we lived named Mike Sanders. He moved in. He was an old V8er. So flathead V8s, Fords. He just taught me a lot of things. He was a metal worker. So I got to grow up in that 30s to 40s range playing with cars, flatheads to anything that went to the LA Roadster show, rumble seats. That was like the era that I grew up in. And then when I was a boy, we had I'm still trying to track down the year, but we had a 77 or 78 C30 dually that my parents bought brand new, still in San Jose. And lo and behold, I saw it on the freeway just like 2 weeks ago. I've been looking for this thing. It was yellow. I forget what the yellow was, but that soft yellow, 2-wheel drive, 454, 400 truck. I don't think it had any power window options but my parents towed offshore scarab boats to Oakland, to San Francisco from San Jose, because that's what I kind of grew up in, was the boat business with my dad. And so as a little kid, I always loved this truck, and it was a square body. And lo and behold, my family ended up getting like a 90 Suburban, and we drove that forever. And then when I got older, we got rid of that Suburban. We actually totaled it in Utah. Long story short, we ended up getting another 90 Suburban, 1500 4x4. And I drove that to high school for 4 years. So I was known for railing a square body over a hill that we lived by to school, because I had to go over a hill to get there. And it was about a 15 to 18 minute drive. So people would call me if they were late to school because they knew I left about 15 minutes before class. Hey, can I get a ride? Can I get a ride? That's where my passion for squares came. My first personal square was a 73 K10, 350, 3 on the tree, 4x4, 205 transfer case, stepper that I could see the road through the rockers while you're sitting in there. And I got that thing for like $1,500 when I was 17 years old. And I love that truck. I think I burnt that clutch up left and right, and it still drove. It ran like a top, and it had bald tires. I loved it when it rained because I could pitch it sideways real easy. But I've always had a love for square bodies, and that's what made me fall in love with the Blazer.
So going back to this C30, obviously, if it's got yellow trim, it's probably 77. If it's not, then it's 78. It could have been painted. You know how that goes.
Or 76. Yeah.
But it sounds like you might have saw it. And is this something where you would want to buy back and get a hold of? And
I don't know if it's that sentimental to me, that particular one.
yeah.
So we're going through some life situations to where my dad's not doing very good. We talked about that before this podcast. And there's a truck when I was growing up that my dad had at the boat shop. And as far as I know, it was either 73 or 74 Chevy C10, single cab, obviously, step side, stock height on slotted mags, 5 lug, obviously, with a little 350, and it was a bench seat. I remember my dad driving that as a little boy. A guy walked on the premises, was asking, because I used to play out in the yard. My dad was inside in the sales office, and all the mechanics were working in their area. And this guy comes out and goes, "Hey, is this truck for sale?" And I was a 5-year-old kid playing in the yard. And he goes, "You think I could check it out?" I was like, "Yeah, let me go grab the keys." So I went and grabbed the keys, not telling my dad. But my dad's office window was right behind the truck. So I come out, and I knew how to start the truck. And so I started it, and I'm around. And my dad comes running out, and he goes, "What's going on? What's going on?" He goes, "Sir, your son just sold me this truck. If it could do that, I want it." So that was just a good memory, but I want to find that truck.
Did it actually sell right then?
Yeah. Yeah. The guy bought it on the spot.
So how would you find this truck? I don't even know. A VIN, an old plate,
Yeah. I have my sources, but I help people find vehicles from time to time. A vehicle for my uncle that he sold 45 years ago.
Yeah.
Impala SS that he gave up. And I know where it's at. And I want to go check it out one of these days because I know it's down in LA.
What color was the truck?
The truck was, okay, it's not the light blue, the medium blue. It's not dark. It's not light. It's that middle ground. I call it the perfect blue.
Yeah.
So I really want to find it. And I recently looked at a 74 up in San Leandro that this chick was posting up, and her dad had just passed, but he had like 3 Datsun Z cars, which I'm also a fan of. So I went up to see it really quick because I was like, okay, it's got slotted mags, it's a stepper. So I went up there, and unfortunately, it was not the truck, and she wanted way too much, but that's another topic. So I helped her out and said, "This is what I'm willing to pay you, but it's not worth any more than that to you." So, but yeah, squares are my thing. I enjoy squares, and as you and I have talked many times, we both enjoy them.
You, I believe, have a K10 long bed. So you have the Suburban.
K20.
You have the okay, K20. Yeah. So that would probably be what happened to me. Was my dad had a friend. So my dad had a white square. My mom had the Blazer. My dad's friend, Big Jim Harrington, had a blue short bed, and this guy named Lester Adams it was either a K10 or a K20 long bed, just like Yellowstone, just like all your ochre and white 2-toners, and we would ride all over our little town in the back of this truck. And so that baby shit yellow Spanish gold. If you're from Oklahoma, I think they call it more ochre, whereas we call it okra, out here in the West. So yeah, what a color. I do think that people either love it or hate it. I don't know if there's a lot of in between.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I like it because it's just a deeper grabber type of yellow versus no offense to the level 7 or level truck that Brian Croft just had, by the way, that just sold. I like that yellow, but it's just too soft for me. And I just like that deeper grabbing yellow. It looks a little bit more racy to me. Not that that was my focus, but I found that the ochre white was just a rarer color within the square body of the early squares.
I think that it goes with what the general gave us, right? So you think about 77 trim, you think about how they evolved from the blue in the action line, your 71, 72, you have the blue hubcap. They went to the Spanish gold. So you have that and the bow tie, your emblems. Again, if you have a 77 yellow fever, that's all Spanish gold. And it's such a cool time. It's like avocado fridges to me. It's just like you have an avocado fridge, an avocado oven, a toaster, maybe some shag carpet. And it's a rich, and it patinas really well. I think blue patinas really well, that medium blue, because the rusty bourbon brown comes through. And the same thing, Yellowstone's hood was the same way. It was just so, I don't know. It's a poetic.
That was our initial goal, was actually to bring how I think Mikey initially told you about me, was we were trying to get rid of that camo underneath or on top of the ochre white on the Blazer. And so I had asked my buddy Adon, who you may see some of his builds out there. He's local to me. And he started sanding. He's like, David, this is gonna be too much. We're gonna burn through. You're not gonna have much ochre left by the time we take this camo off. I really recommend and there's a lot more rust than we anticipated. That was kind of hidden, not Bondo hidden, but just hidden. So I made the decision to do a full paint. We were quarters and all that kind of stuff.
Just for the audience, I never knew that it was ochre and white two-tone underneath. I just know that it was a 4x4 full top Blazer that you bought. And then did you always set out to build the race Blazer from that, convert it and everything? That was the mission and the plan from the get-go?
That was the initial plan, and I wanted that cruiser, beachy feel vibe to it, because my buddy Hondo has the really cool, 22 that's immaculate. That's a cool cruiser, but the hardtop really doesn't come off. So I wanted a very versatile, usable truck. I got kids. I got people that want to go for rides. I wanted it to be user-friendly. I wanted it to be super versatile. I want the sides up. I want the sides down. I want the top off. I want the top on. I want to be able to race with it. I want to be able to drive it to LA. So I wanted the run of the gamut. So that was my initial goal. But what led me to that Blazer was not only price, but that it was an original ochre white truck.
Yeah.
Underneath all that. You wouldn't have never known, but Mikey turned me on to the SPID. And for people that don't know what a SPID is, that tells you exactly what the truck was from factory. And I put it back to factory specs and then some. We deepen the ochre a little bit to make it pop a little bit more. And
is that a 3 or a 4?
It's a 4.
Okay. Yeah, 3s will normally have the SPID build sheet on the driver front inner fender, which sucks. That's how Yellowstone was. And then 4s, for whatever reason, obviously 67 to 72, I always call it the birth certificate. It's in the glove box. For some reason, some guy said, hey, let's put it on the inner fender where all this moisture and all this shit goes. And then they went back to it in 4. So why 3 did that, I'm not sure. Really makes no sense, but that's a big way of telling if you have that's almost the only way that I know to tell a 3 from a 4. They're really identical trucks. So if you're looking for the build sheet and you open up that glove box and it's not there, and it is in fact on that inner fender well, odds are it's a 3. And then the 5 is different, especially in a Blazer. But yeah, that's a cool story. You knew you were going to convert it then? You knew you were going to convert it to 2-wheel drive?
That was probably the long-term goal. Yes. I didn't think I would do it that fast, but I was pretty much done with 350 and going 62 to 65 miles an hour down the road. I have my Z car with a LS3 in it, and it goes 100 miles an hour down the road. No problem. I wanted to have the overdrive. I wanted to be able to take the family places more often. We used it for probably a good 8 months, and then I decided to tear into it.
So walk us through some of that. I don't know that my audience has the most experience of pro touring, autocross-esque.
Yeah.
See, you've been doing it, I feel like in this Blazer 5 to 6 years now. I remember seeing it. I remember seeing it here locally, April of '01, I think, when Arnie had his little thing here.
That was my debut. I bought it in July of 2020. And by 2021, I debuted it. It was runner. I had no seats in it, but I think I had the original seats in it and I took it to the show, but it was supposed to be a runner driver for that event, but I couldn't get it done in time. So I ended up racing the Square One Vintage old blue truck and took that out there. But that was the snowball effect. And then I really got going when I started working with No Limit and Rob over there. And we had a long discussion. Do we go chassis? Do we go bolt-ons? So I ended up going with bolt-ons, and I have a K5 4x4 frame. And he says, no problem. Our kit will bolt up to that, a couple extra drilling holes, and you have basically a 2-wheel drive setup. I did that. I did a full frame off and took the frame down to nothing, put all his cross members on, powder coated everything, assembled it all next to my 63 Nova wagon in my 2-car garage at the time, and got it ready while it was at paint. I always wanted to be ahead of the curve with how people are building using certain drivetrain. And so in 17, I built a Vega with my buddies in my garage with a new LTG 2.0 turbo from Chevrolet, which they don't make anymore, but it was a crate motor. But I always wanted to be different and ahead, so we chose to go Gen 5 LT in the Blazer versus an LS3. Having a manual transmission, full floater 9-inch rear end with Jay Miller. I have his whole Miller built setup on that. That was a game changer, I'll tell you what. All the Willwood brakes all the way around. The most recent update was Delta ABS. So I'm very modern underneath that body. A lot of trick suspension from Rob, and there's more to come on that. Now it's grown from an NA 5.3 with just a little cam to 1,000 horsepower twin turbo at the crane. And we're 850 plus at the tire on a good day.
And it's still the 5.3?
And it's still the 5.3.
With the same cam or a different cam?
A turbo cam in it now.
Okay. So twin turbo. What trans is in it? I think you had...
It's a Mag S, so Magnum S. So it's a small F-body style T56. It's no bigger, but it basically has Magnum guts in it.
Did it just grenade on you or something? I thought you had to do something to it recently.
Yeah, so I had a used T56 early on, and I disintegrated second gear severely. I ended up winning LS Fest Texas using first and third, because the last part of the event, I got my drags done because they do an 1/8 mile there, not the quarter. And I was able to get and push through a drag race there. I had one time, and that one time stuck and got me a decent point standing in the running. And then we had the speed stop left in that afternoon. And so I would run first out. And I had a big fish hook all the way down and back around. So I'd run out first and then go to third, and I'd boost up and continue my run. And luckily there was no other turns. It was just a big, huge horseshoe, basically, or fish hook. And so I ended up walking away with the win on that one and a broken tranny. That tranny's still broken. I still need to rebuild it, but yeah, another time.
Obviously, there's some accolades that go to you figuring out not only how to work through that and drive it, but I think between the two of you, between the truck, the Blazer, if you will, and you and your experience and what you've been able to get, you're hitting a lot of shows. So obviously it's hard probably go all the way out east, but here, West Coast, Texas, LS Fest in Vegas, you just did some Optima stuff and kick butt and won. I remember, I think talking to Hondo, you brought up Hondo from the perspective of the weight. Does the Blazer do better that way for you in the autocross to be balanced?
Balanced and the weight. So we weigh with me in it about 4,400 pounds. Hondo is a little bit more than that, but the Blazer, if I typically add weight, I put it towards the back. I have the ice chest, if you've ever seen that back there, or I have like axle weights and stuff like that. So it's really close to a 50-50 balance when I do what I do. And sometimes I actually add more weight. I've had as much as 400 pounds on the back of the Blazer for certain events just to put down traction, to be honest.
I remember talking to Kevin Tates when he built his 67, 68. I think it had the Nissan diesel in it, but
Vintage Air, 50 years, 1976 to 2026, San Antonio, Texas. Whether your truck had AC or not, Vintage Air has a solution for you and your project. Their Gen 5 SureFit kits feature new, larger blowers, OEM-style injected molded cases, full electronic slide controls, replacing older cables, allowing for smooth slide functions when changing flow and temp. And that, my friends, is why Vintage Air has been in business for 50 years. VintageAir.com. USA1Industries.com. Your square body source. Used them for my SEMA build. I've been pimping out their dashes for so long, 10 plus years. And people would always ask me, where's the best dash pad? USA1 Industries. USA1 Industries, without a doubt. So the team over there has been so supportive to me, my build. I get on their website, their process, it's easy, it flows. I can know what parts, and sometimes, honestly, I'm not even sure what parts I need, but when I go through the website, it kind of cues my mind, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should buy that. Oh yeah, I need that. It was extremely helpful. I got 2 large shipments when I was doing the Big Sky Bonanza build, and it saved me. It really did, to know, oh yeah, I'm glad that I ordered that. So when you're going through a big build, think USA1 Industries. Great support, fast shipping. Everything came just as I needed it to. And honestly, their packaging and their labeling was great. So I would be going through packages and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is this grommet. Oh yeah, this is this hardware. So support those guys, USA1Industries.com. And we appreciate all their support. Check them out, guys. 73 to 91, you need it. They got it. They ain't got it. You don't need it.
I remember talking to Kevin Tates when he built his 67, 68. I think it had the Nissan diesel in it, but he was that motor was so far back. I feel like the motor was in the cab because of that said 50-50 ratio of weight. Whereas with the Blazer, having a bigger tub like that, you're getting a little bit different weight ratio. I remember talking to Hondo about that, and he's like, yeah, this is going to be good. We're going to get some ass traction.
Yeah. And that's one thing why I leaned towards the Blazer. I grew up with the Suburbans. So what's the next best thing? A Blazer, because I could still take my family with me. It holds 4 people comfortably. I can take stuff in the back, but I can also play and go out and race. So that was the nice thing about the Blazer and why I chose it. But the wheelbase is the big, huge benefit with the Blazer, because it's 105, 106-inch wheelbase, very close to a Corvette, a new modern Corvette, not C4, but C5, C6. And even C7. And so it really benefits you in the turns versus C10 short bed is 120 to 125 inches long to the wheels. Weight has come up a little bit, but it hasn't stopped me from being fast.
So I like that you have somewhat of a stock chassis on there. Is that something that when you look at that, are you happy with that? Does it give you good flex? And when you think about, for the audience, again, I don't want to dumb this down, but with a Blazer, with a full top Blazer, so a 345, you're going to have rocker boxes and you're going to have some flex there. And then with your chassis not being, unless you did box it, which you can get into, do you get a lot of flex in the chassis? or do you have?
I do get a lot of flex, and it's come more so lately. I guess the word would be called sprung. And I think that I've abused the chassis quite a bit more than it's intended for. I have added early on when I was doing my cross member and stuff like that for the transmission, I did add tubular rails inside. So it's not boxed, it's just tubed inside. And then I have a cross member and then a second cross member before the rear end. It's helped. It's not 100%, but it's definitely helped. I've definitely taken the bolt-on aspect of what can go on a chassis with like the no limit or whatever other manufacturer you want to use to the limit, no pun intended. And I feel that the Blazer could be faster with a chassis because then the chassis is doing the work and not the entire thing. I'm getting some flex. We have video of the door gap changing and going like that a lot. You can see me picking up a tire in the corners and the body. So there are some talks of potentially maybe going to chassis down the line. I'm not sure yet, but again, it depends on how funds go and if I want to do an entire teardown, because essentially I'd have to rebuild the Blazer 100%.
Yeah, it seems like guys are glutton for punishment. So if I was a betting man, I would say it's probably going to happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen in 26 or 27, but probably the way that you've been doing what you've been doing, unless you completely come up with another build, I could see where you tear it down. I guess I'm wondering if you did go with a full chassis, how much would you cage to get some added, or could you cage more on the top end to help with some of that flex?
Actually, with Rob's chassis, it would take the brunt of all that. I've driven Bill Holt's square body. You've seen that maroon truck that he has. That truck does not flex. And that frame is very rigid with very limited, I think it has maybe a roll bar in it, not even a full cage. And so I know for a fact, even driving other no limit trucks, that all the work will be done within the frame, if that makes sense. Would I like to add a little bit more rigidity? Maybe down bar or something like that. But other than that, I think what I'd like to get rid of, my cheat code to a chassis, is get rid of the tubs. I call them the pontoons, but I get rid of that center section to shed a little bit of weight. I might save 20 pounds, 25, 30 pounds, but that's 30 pounds.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to get into autocross, and what would you say? How would you say this is how you got to start? Go to a couple events, talk to a couple guys, figure out what you want, and then build around that. Meaning,
yeah,
a Datsun or Nissan, a truck. I've seen everything from a swept line to a Ford. Obviously, there's a shit ton of C10s out there.
Yeah.
But what would you say? Somebody listening's like, man, I see these guys. I'm a enthusiast from the outside looking in. I would love to maybe hit a race or two.
Yeah. We have Optima, Ultimate Streetcar Challenge. There's Good Guys. There's the C10 Nationals. Out where you guys are, the SCCA runs all the time out there. Look at a track day. I would really recommend anybody that's interested in doing autocross is look at your local Facebook pages or forums or anything like that. Ask somebody that you know does it. At C10 Nationals, I think that's been a great venue as of late, at least with like Jason Wilcox from TCI and myself. When we were out at Vegas, dude, I got 90 runs in a weekend. My arms were pumped. I could not drive anymore. And I gave that many rides. That's the time to come out, is a C10 Nationals event, maybe even an LS. LS is a little bit more restrained, but get out to your local autocross. Don't be afraid to go out there and ask for help.
You guys has autocross events all over the country.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot's in Pleasanton. You got Scottsdale, you got Texas, you got Del Mar once a year, sometimes twice a year, depending on what the schedule's like. Tons in the Midwest and the East Coast. They've been pushing for new venues. But yeah, I have encouraged people to come out and just try it. We had a lot of, we'll call them newbies at C10 Nationals Vegas. as hot as it was, coming out and trying it for the first time. You know all these guys, but guys on full air trucks that are cruisers, just go out there and just have fun. Go around the cone. I don't care if you're going 25 miles an hour. Just go feel it. Get the experience. And then they come ride with me or Jason Wilcox or George Reese or one of these guys. They're like, holy crap. This is what I could really do. Or I like the response of, I didn't know your Blazer could do that. You get the what do you call it? The student driver feel. So you're driving and you and you're watching the person, they're like starting to tense up, like a corner's coming up. And then you take the corner and they're like, how did we just do that? And so that's what these suspension companies have really come up with, like No Limit and TCI. They perfected it over time to be capable of your modern sports car. So that's a nice thing. But I do encourage people to come out and try it. Give it at least one try. If you're a stock truck, so what?
Yeah, and I think if you take your truck or you go for a ride with somebody, then you'll know. Yeah, I'm kind of getting a tingle
really
from the
easy to get
tangle,
the buzz.
and I want to go faster. And I saw David, and I saw how his Blazer was able to grip and stick and hold the corners, and then brake as well. And do your research, figure out what you want to do, go visit a racetrack or a group. And I think it's like the old high school dance where you're like, do I go talk to him? And then you look back a year later and you're like, why didn't I just go do that? Because
Why didn't I do that?
guys are so nice. It's not the Corvette Club. I've heard that many a time, that the Corvette guys are kind of douchey. And sorry if there's any Corvette guys that are out there that are douchey or not douchey, but the C10 group is going to be welcoming. So get out there, do it, figure out if it's something that tickles your fancy and you really want to do it. You had mentioned that 5.3, 1,000 horsepower. And they said, at the time, they said, hey, you almost want to have like 6 to 650 because you get too much power, then you can't stop, and then you end up so on and so forth. So where do you find that balance when it comes to horsepower?
Yes. I have a turbo button basically that controls my levels. So I have a default. So basically when I go into an event, I'm around 6 to 650 rear tire horsepower. So I'm right where I need, to be honest. I rarely use 1,000 horsepower, maybe once or twice on the track if it's a good enough straightaway. But even then, it's typically not usable. I have used it on a drag strip, but really at the top end. So that's been the nice thing about having variable choices of the turbo PSI. And like when I go in, my default 5 PSI. And that's about the 6 to 650 range at the rear tire.
What kind of boost do you pull?
My highest is 15 PSI. So at 15 PSI with the 5.3, it's forged internals, still 325 cubic inches, and all pretty much stock heads. It's pushing 1,000 at the crank.
That is a lot out of a 5.3. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then what RPM, what are you at?
My max right now is 7. We're going to go to 75 here before August. I just have to change a couple things in my accessory drive. I have a new dampener that allows me to turn it a little bit more because I still have a stock dampener on there. So it's not recommended to go over 7. So when I do that, we are going to turn it up a little bit to give me a little bit more mile an hour on some of those smaller courses. That way I don't have to get into the turbos too much.
And are you in second at?
No, I could be in first or second. Good guys, typically I'm in a first gear situation. With other autocrosses like C10 Nationals or LS Fest, I'm typically in second gear. Yeah. So we have a little bit more higher speeds. It's not as tight as good guys. So it's nice to have. And then we also have what's called track cross sometimes. So that's on a track and they lay out a course all the way down the track.
So how about money? When a guy says, hey, I want to get in, I've already got my truck. Let's say it's not LS swap. He's running, maybe even he has a long bed or something. Either way, he's got his initial truck or vehicle. And are you thinking, hey, dude, you're going to need 20 to 50 to get things going? Or You can nickel dime it, and nickel dime probably isn't the best word, but you can scrap it together and you can make it happen and do a lot of the work yourself and have fun and enjoy that part of the journey as well, because that's what you've done.
Yeah. Initially, that's why I went with the bolt-on. Rob and I had a good conversation. He helped me out a little bit. Nothing was free on the Blazer to initiate the initial build on it. And I was penny pinching, really. I'm very frugal and very budget oriented when I'm doing stuff. It's like, man, I got to spend 3-4 grand on an engine. Now, to a lot of people, that's dirt cheap. That might just be a crank. That might be just a set of heads. And I know people that are like that, to where they can reach in their pocket and pull out 3-4 grand. At the time when I was building the Blazer, I couldn't. So I was being really hesitant and careful of how I spent money, because initially the Blazer was just NA, and that's all I could afford until I could figure out the turbos. I did a turbo test, Chad Reynolds with Bang Shift. He's like, hey, buy some eBay turbos and just do this and this. And so I bought $500 worth of turbos on eBay and hooked them up, and it progressed from there and got me the feel of what turbos could do for a little low horsepower 5.3.
And then did you say you changed the cam? So you originally had your original NA cam and then you went to a turbo cam?
Yeah. And that was through Brian Truly Racing.
It seems like you've been on fire as well. So you've been winning. So you figured it out, right? So it seems like it. You're going to events. Do you go to win? Do you go to just have fun? And if you can drive the hell out of it and kick ass, it's a bonus? Or when you look back to where you started and you wanted to get into it to now you're a guy, so it's kind of normal progression, right? More horsepower. It's like Tim the Tool Man. I need more. And yeah, so walk us through that.
So I'm competitive in nature. I grew up around racing. I grew up doing sports all my life, track, soccer, cross country, baseball, a little bit of football. But I was always about being the fastest, always being first, the fastest in my high school for cross country and stuff like that. I had one of the fastest 800 times, the fastest 1600 time. So I was a pacer, to where I could really figure out my pace and do well at that. And so I brought that to now, and with my dad growing up, winning world records and setting world records and being first place. And it was kind of ingrained in my head, you got to be first. So yes, I do go to races with the goal of winning, but I don't like to think like that, because you go to a race and you start looking at the times and seeing what other people are running and just focusing so much on that instead of running your own race. It kind of takes away from the fun. And so you get down on yourself like, oh, this guy's winning or beating me here. And, oh man, he shed like 2/10 or 5/10. We're talking like this, like a click of your fingers kind of difference. And it can really get to you. An old racer told me one time, when you go to a race, remember to have fun, put your head down and focus on you. Focus on what you need to do your best. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing there. And if you're struggling, ask for help. But if you're not, keep your head down. Don't be prideful. Help out others around you when they need help, but just focus on having fun and do you. So when I go to a race, sometimes people come back and they're like, why is David such an ass? And honestly, I have to say, I'm sorry, because I was so focused on competing that sometimes, I might come across as not such a nice guy at the race. And so people go up to me and they start talking to me, and I'm so focused that I get that attitude. I don't know why, but I have to say sorry.
With that, I think my thought was, away from the race, you're nothing but a great guy. And
thank you.
I also think that there's guys that respect that. So it's kind of like the Michael Jordan, right? Where if you watched all the documentaries of these competitive guys, whether it's Tiger or Michael or David Carroll or whoever, it's like, hey man, I'm not really here to be your buddy. I want and like your friendship, but when I'm here, I want to race. And I love that part of it. And I think there's probably more guys like that or people that are probably more like that when they're spending their money and they want to race. And look at Earnhardt. I'm not comparing you to Earnhardt. You're not comparing. I mean, is there anybody that's more aggressive and or competitive than the Intimidator? And everybody seemed to love him. So they might say he's an ass, but they seem to love him too. So I think there is a fine line to the guy that's on top a lot, and that's just part of it. So
Yeah, it's not easy going to races with what feels like a bullseye on your back all the time. And I worked really hard to get there. And I even contemplated like selling the Blazer at one point. Like maybe I could do that to help fund my shop and kind of make the ball roll a little bit better. I've had offers on the Blazer, and so you think, okay, I'll sell the Blazer to them, and the person that's thinking about buying it, hey, I'll be just as fast as David. And I'm not saying you won't be, but it's going to be really hard to be. And it's taken a lot of seat time to get to this point. When I tell you that I did 90 laps at C10 Nationals, that's a lot of driving. It's just like NASCAR. They do what, 200, 250 to 500 laps. That's a lot of driving. And so you only get better by being in the seat and being behind the wheel.
what do you do when you have a bad day or a bad show?
You don't want to be around. No, sometimes I have to tuck my tail between my legs and walk away just thinking, what could I have done better? And I've had those weekends to where either a ruling came up against me last second, and that's another story, but where I come in second behind a really well-built truck. I'll say for example, TCI, the Barry Speed Shop Special, I'll call it. The orange one you've seen, the 70. I look at that and I kind of have this thought process my dad gave to me a long time. My dad was a hillbilly from Watsonville, California. They grow strawberries there. There's fields everywhere. They built his boat out of barely of a barn kind of place. But he had guys like Keith Black and these kind of George from Clay Smith Cams, all these what would be considered big name guys, but they were like practically doing in the backyard. And what I meant by that, and what he meant by that is like, my dad would show up to these races with his El Camino, towing his boat, but he'd be coming to the races against these guys with these huge, like we'll call them now in the modern day, toter home mentality, then race team and support and air jacks galore. Nothing against air jacks, but they show up with these huge, deep pockets. And then I show up with this Blazer or a truck or car or a Z at the time that I built out of my garage with my own hands for penny, like what you said, pennies on the dollar. And then I win or I lose. And if I lose, I get mad at myself because I go, how could I have been a better driver? It wasn't the Blazer. It wasn't the Z. It was me. And so, yes, I walk away sometimes mad at myself. And the drive home might be a little quiet for a while. No music. Sometimes that's nice, actually, just to kind of recap on the weekend. But if I lost to something like the truck that Jason Wilcox has been driving, that Barry Speed Shop, Wally's truck, basically, they're 300 plus into that. And if I had that type of money, I'd have a really cool truck. Just like that. So I feel good coming in second to that. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. I wonder, I don't remember if you said the neighbor's name, but you said he was an old hot rodder. And I feel like it's cool that you don't even realize it, or you didn't then, you probably do now, that you had that exposure to that rumble seat, that era. And that is the true hot rod era where you couldn't buy it all out of the catalog. You couldn't, whether it's laser printed, 3D printed, machine to a certain point. These guys are figuring shit out on the fly. And that at the time you probably just thought it was cool. And now it's in your DNA.
Yeah. Yeah. No, his thing, and this is you struck a good point. My buddy Mike taught me about, he was a sheet metal guy, like old school sheet metal. And so he did like all these big, huge industrial things back in the day in the 40s and 50s when he was working, and even in the 60s. And he's like, hey, feel this fender. Back in the 30s, the fenders were round and the hoods were round and all that kind of stuff. And the doors had a good curvature to them. And then you had like the beauty line down some of the doors, if you know what I'm talking about. And he's like, feel this, run your hand against it. Tell me if you feel anything. And, he's like, did you feel anything? And yeah, I did. So it's kind of like that mentality. It's like, I really got in deep with some of these cars, and it really ingrained in me to like really know what you're doing and to feel it out. And all I had was a hammer and a dolly and a sandbag. I have some of those guys in my shop. And so it's been really cool to watch this transition over time of them building these cars right in front of me. And it kind of just takes me back to when I was 8 years old or 10 years old.
It's like Days of Thunder, right? He's sitting there caressing the car, talking to the car, making whispering sweet nothings to the. Here's the deal. I think the cool thing about what you guys do is, instead of us talking to the car and telling us what we're going to do with the car, I think you have to listen to the car, because that's the 90 laps is you listening to the car. You're growing, but you're growing off of the listening and the group together. What will the car do for me? Truck, Blazer. What could I do to not put myself, redline it, spin out of control, not go into that corner as fast, so on and so forth. So you learn each other. And
yeah,
it'd be interesting, it'd be challenging, but once you do go through 2.0, if you do, it'd be like, I got to learn how to like completely redrive this thing.
Yeah. No, 2.0 is coming. Okay. It's just in, let's call it, the beginning stages of figuring out what that will look like. But if I do it, the Blazer is going to be faster, a lot faster. And I'm not holding back.
Hey guys, are you thinking about swapping out your old motor for a more reliable LSLT based power plant? Behind each PSI harness, you get over 10 years of experience in the business, online tech support, phone support, and harnesses made in the U.S. That's psiconversion.com. Have you guys heard of Doja Mat? Retro mats done right. You know those classic floor mats we all grew up with? Well, Doja Mat has created that same classic style with all of your favorite slogans. Dent side, bowl nose, 4x4, high boy, bump side, truckin', with the horns of course, and so much more. Check them out at dojamat.com. That's DOJAMAT.com. Dojamat.com. Retro mats done right. You've heard me talk about my gauges. Dakota Digital. I love them. Dakota Digital has the best gauges for our trucks. These kits are complete with sensors for any engine. They look just like the stock clusters, but have all the technology you'd expect from Dakota Digital. It's like a modern truck, but even better in a classic. Dakota Digital is absolutely the best in aftermarket gauges, so check them out at dakotadigital.com. dakotadigital.com.
It's just in, let's call it, the beginning stages of figuring out what that will look like. But if I do it, the Blazer is going to be faster, a lot faster. And I'm not holding back. I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, okay, people are only going to get faster if I don't start changing stuff. So I need to start changing and keeping with the times. And so there's a lot of modern stuff being introduced into the racing world as we speak. And it's like keeping up with the Joneses, that whole thought process. And my buddy, I know you know Kyle Cochran and his track hoe, that thing, that OBS Tahoe is just, there's so many nannies coming into play on that thing. It's insane. There's other vehicles out there that are also being produced that we haven't heard about yet, at least in the racing side. It's just crazy what the transition has caused. And a lot of these supercar like abilities are being brought into our industry full force. And it's really cool. So I want, as a driver, to be able to excel and stay with the times and not have what's called a dinosaur of a vehicle. Not that it's not capable. It's just I have to drive what I feel that much harder to keep up with some of these other vehicles.
Time, money, right? We see it, right? What do they say? You want to make $1 million in racing? Start with 5.
Yeah.
And how much money it costs, and you obviously need some sponsors. I look at it as like it's been about a 6-year explosion. The pro touring and autocross was around before 6 years. Let's just call it 2020. But the C10s, the trucks, the classic trucks have really exploded, and people are really putting a lot of money and time, R&D. When you talk about like Rob at No Limit and talking to Rob and interviewing Rob, Jason Wilcox from, I was going to say, TCI, Total Cost Involved, it's just cool to see that evolution. Now, with that being said, do you have a race or a group of people that you haven't attended that you really want to get to challenge yourself to that next level?
I want to venture out to different types of racing. I've actually spoken to some of my NASA friends that run time attack stuff, and the Blazer actually would qualify for, I think it's called T3. I could be wrong, but it would actually qualify. So those are things that I would like to do. I haven't done King of the Mountain at UMI Motorsport Park, which I think is actually going on right now or this upcoming weekend. Yeah. So for me, that's a haul and a half. And as you well know, and so my goal later on this year is actually to take my Blazer east and leave it there and do some stuff out east for the remainder of the year before SEMA. And so I enjoy the events on the East Coast. It's really fun. I like LS Fest East. I like C10 Nationals, Nashville. There's actually some hill climbs out there that I would love to do. So there's things that I've been approached with and asked if I would be interested in doing it. Maybe you've heard of the Silver State Challenge. It's a race in Nevada, 90 miles of road that you work your way up. So essentially like the first level is, let's call it 110. And you have to average 110 miles an hour for 90 miles. Next one up would be like 130 and then 140, 150. And then there's unlimited. And my goal is to start venturing out with the Blazer and doing different types of races that are out there. Hill climb. I've been invited to Virginia Hill Climb. I think my biggest bucket list, and I don't know if I would ever be able to do it, would be Pikes Peak.
Yeah.
I think I can break the truck record. Not going to lie.
You couldn't do it. When you mean that, you meant the record?
I have family. I have a family and a wife, and I'm only 42, going on 43 later this year. And I'm not saying that you only live once, but I feel that I would ride 11/10 in that race to make it happen. And I don't want to jeopardize my future with my family. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've seen Scott Birdsall where he had a situation. I talked to Robbie Utzer a lot about the hill climb because he's done it many times. I've talked to several other people, and Robbie's like, you could do it, but it's unforgivable. But he says you would do well in your class. And so I would have to completely rebuild the Blazer if I did it in a Blazer. And obviously safety would be number one. So those are things I've been thinking about. I love hill climb. Like I told you early on when I was driving to high school, I had my 90 Suburban. I used to rail up this road near me called Hecker Pass Highway, and also known as 152. And it went from Gilroy, California over to Watsonville, California. It had a good bank to it. And a lot of people were timid about going around it, but I saw it as an opportunity. I was like, man, I could dive in really hard and hit that, and I'll have grip for days, where it took other people like half the day to figure out that you had grip. And so I just like that kind of stuff. I like different types of racing. And yeah, autocross is fun. I've learned a lot from autocross, because they always say it's better to be an autocrosser and then go into road race than for a road racer to come in and do autocross. It just helps you understand and get a grip on cornering and going around stuff so much better. I got people on the East Coast that do the hill climbs, and their background is autocross, and they're just killing it on these hill climbs because they do so well on what we would consider like a short course type of feel. So Tail of the Dragon, I'm sure you've heard of that. It's 130 plus turns. That's insane. And you do it in a very short time. So those are just things I want to venture out. I want to put the Blazer where the Blazer is least expected. In a NASA race with time attack cars. To see this box, a literal brick box going around the track, keeping up with other cars, it's just giving fun. I like the TCI truck. It's cool. I really like Bill Holt's Blazer. I don't know if you've seen the Blazer that they built. IRS, big motor, 4-speed, winter's quick change.
Was it the first?
Lots of, it's a square. But they made it a cab to the rear quarters. So they took a truck cab and put Blazer or truck sides, shortened, bobbed, whatever you want to call it, to make the Blazer.
Kind of gave it a unibody style because there's brake.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really cool. And Chris, one of their driver, and Rob does really good too. But Chris is like an exceptional SCCA driver. I would like to drive that truck at some point. They've done a lot of tweaking to make it really fast. And I'm hoping someday that my Blazer would be just as fast. We're really close, but they've had a lot of time to dial that thing in for sure. And it's on a full chassis.
Who's a builder that you look to that you really, whether they realize it or not, you're always watching them. You're watching their feed. You're watching what they're doing. You're like, this guy or this team is really on it.
You know what? I'm like all over the place because I get little tidbits. I really wouldn't say I have one builder. I watch a lot of higher end race car stuff, and I try to bring stuff like that into play. And that's a good question. Really good question. I'm too frugal. I'm too frugal to look at these high end builders.
Well, let's take that to the next question. If I gave you $100K, what would you do?
I would do a chassis truck. I'd probably do no limit. I would do the Blazer. I like the Blazer a lot. It has so much capability. I would start over. I would do a full chassis. Yes. I would get low. I want it stupid low. I want to throw sparks off the splitter. I want it 4 inches from the rocker to the ground. I want to be able to stand my fist up, and that's rocker right there. Flat bottom. Mike DeSold designs, I believe, out of Texas. They're up in the Plano area, Carrollton area. He's got that wicked 7 big turbo 67 Camaro that looks like a fighter pilot. It does like grid life and time attack stuff and hill climb and all this kind of stuff. He would be he's a very innovative person. They have F1 race car stuff on that thing. Just the innovation, all the cantilever suspension and sway bar, and it's all tied into itself. It's air jacks. I mean, everything that could be done to that car has been done.
Air jacks a few times. I don't know what that is, so explain what
air jacks. Basically, put an air hose to the back, and it lifts up the car. 16 to 18 inches off the ground, like race car stuff.
Not during the race. It doesn't adjust. You're just saying once it parks, they can just air jack it up and then.
It's spring loaded. It's like when you take off the air, it sucks it back up into the body. So it's these cool little just air jacks and they're little cylinders on every corner of the vehicle. It's very convenient, especially if you're needing to be quick, and as long as you have air. Kyle Cochran has it on his track hoe, on his OBS setup, and it's pretty wicked to watch.
It's awesome. It's cool, the technology, and you're like you said, you're frugal and you're fighting it, and you're like, all right, maybe we'd have some air jacks and some new chassis and a new power plant on the $100,000 we're gonna donate to you.
Yeah, well, I wish. Yeah, and that's the big question: is like, would 100,000 go far enough? I mean, we're looking at some of these builds. That's a giant in an engine. I'm done.
That's why you want to sell it, because you're like, well, if I sell it, then I can, in your mind, you're like, well, then I can raise this much money and start over. And I get that, because I've been thinking about that a lot with Orange Slice. I'm like, man, I want to do Orange Slice 2.0. But then you're like, but I could sell it and sell it for this much. If I do 2.0, you're somewhat just erasing that whatever you could sell for. I think 2.0 is inevitable with it, but I just think that I get it. I get what you're saying, and it comes down to time and money. And you've got young boys, right? 2 young boys and a family and a wife. And she's like, babe, I want to support you, but we could only
Well, babe, that's why I need to build these trucks. So if I build these trucks, I could sell them and send them to college. So speaking of that, you and I spoke briefly at SEMA this last year, and we were both talking OBS. So I am in the process. I pretty much laid out my entire game plan on it. I'm building what I call Twisted Obsession, and it's a twist on an OBS, the 454 SS truck, as a tribute to Dale Earnhardt's NASCAR truck, or NAS truck, whatever you call it.
Yep.
And so my scheme is kind of along those lines: the black, the red, the silver. I already have a power plant, transmission. I have that. I got rear ends on its way. I have a chassis from No Limit. This thing's going to be stupid low. And I'm building it to be a driver race truck, but I'm going to be implementing a future program based off of this build from NorCal Garage.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal moving forward is to build more trucks for other people to do this.
Now with this vision, I love that you have the vision. Is it, hey, I'm going to start the process. I'm going to get the vision going, and I'm going to start it. And if I can find a buyer, then I can keep building it for them, or I'm going to buy it. I'm going to build it. I'm going to get it out there. And
I'm going to build it how I want it. And if somebody wants it down the line, great. If they don't, then I'll just race it. And then I'll build Blazer. It's a OBS 97.
Okay. So around that, which doesn't matter. The power plant?
It's going to be LT Gen 5.
Okay. Wow. So yeah. So LT and then TR660, or
it's a T56 Magnum, and then it's going to be a stick axle rear.
So we need to get that built and sold, the Twisted Obsession, and then put some of that money into the Blazer 2.0. Break down what just happened. You were doing some awesome off-road, on-road. How was this break? I didn't like it because I loved it, but I didn't like it, if that makes sense.
I know.
No, I loved watching you do it. I didn't like, because I was just like, it gave me like, oh man, I'm like, dude, the amount of rocks that I'm like,
there's no rocks. There's no rocks, right? It's all dust. It's just dirt. Yes, it got everywhere. I'm still finding it, but it was so fun, Ronnie. You gotta know me. The story was that Optima asked me to come out there and do some filming for a race, a rodeo race. And we really didn't have a ton of details. They kind of tried to keep it hush hush. And Vaughn was out there. There was Chris Forsberg. There was Chris, I forget his last name, but he does off-road racing and stuff like that. There's some celebrity drivers, and they were the team captains. But The goal was to bring street cars to the dirt and then also introduce the AT or the side by sides and the rally cars and the Raptors and all that kind of stuff. So we ended up running some of the fastest times because we're autocross savvy, but we were playing in the dirt. So for some of us, it was the first time. Now, I'm used to dirt, not necessarily in the Blazer, but I don't mind pitching it sideways and controlling the car in the dirt. And I really wish they showed some of the outtakes because I'm doing 60 to 80 miles an hour, pitch sideways, full drift through at least a quarter plus mile of the desert floor. It was so epic. The amount of dirt that was just spread everywhere. I didn't care. I paid it to the Blazer because I was like, you know what? I got a good detailer. We'll deal with this later. And this is all for show. So I ended up on the cover after doing that. And we did drag racing. We did our own drag racing. Optima didn't do that, but that was fine. Some of us streetcar people did the drag racing. And so actually in the future, it kind of got me thinking to pitch this idea to some friends and go, look, I know it's going to be in the dirt, but that's kind of like an even playing field and nobody has an up on it. Bring what you got and let's go autocross. Let's go drag race. Let's go do a speed stop. Let's camp in the middle of this lake bed and just have a good old time on a weekend. Have 2 days worth of fun activities, whatever that means. And just, yeah, our cars are going to get dirty. We can clean them later. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of doing maybe next year and at the soggy bottom lake bed. And I hope I get to go back.
No, I love it. Was this one of those deals where you had some celebrity people there, right? You had Vaughn Gittin Jr., you had other people who obviously Optima invited you out, and you're like, I don't want to get it too dirty. And then once it started, you're like, fuck it. Like,
I didn't care. I didn't care because I was like, you know what? This is why I built the Blazer. It's not a show queen. Yes, I trailer to events because typically my events are really far and my fuel tank is not huge. So yeah, I'm going to go have fun. I brought Nugget. So Nugget is my K20. I brought it out there. Everybody loved it because I went to King of the Hammers first because that's where Optima invited us to come. So I went like the day before and hung out with a bunch of friends and Fred Williams was there. And he actually spotted Nugget in the parking area outside of Hammertown. He goes, this is the coolest truck here by far, hands down. And I just had it on 37s. I had a 2-inch lift in the front because they had clapped out springs originally. And it's just beat to crap. It's ochre white. And I love it. It's so fun to drive. I have an LS for it. And I would daily that truck all day, every week, hands down when I do the LS swap. Because right now it just has a little tired 350 that I'm surprised still runs. But we went out there and on the dried lake bed and we just had fun. You kind of had to put the whole dirt thing beside you and just, I'm here to have fun. So it really makes you want to go back. And my kids are like, Dad, that looks so much fun. I wish I was in the back seat or whatever. And I even took one of the camera guys. He's like, dude, I have to ride with you. This looks so much fun. And that's when I was going super fast sideways.
I hope we get to see more of that content.
I'm going to ask for it because they had drones.
A big photo of that thing, of the Blazer just
sideways. Oh, dude, it was so epic.
4K, this perfect shot. You grew up doing this with your dad, boat racing. Do the boys go with you as much as you want, or is it something they love, or does one like it and one loves it, or they don't like it?
Yeah, so as of late, it's been a little hard because they've been in school and my wife works at the school. So, you know, when you have to leave on a Thursday or Friday to go to an event, sometimes even a Wednesday, taking the kids out of school, just brings is a little tough. I can work on the road a lot of times and kind of call into the office and have things done as needed. I recently went to Willow Springs for Optima and I took my 8-year-old Max, and it was kind of one of his first real full weekends with just him, myself, and my buddy Hector. And he had a lot of fun. A lot of people enjoy having him there because he brought his bike and he's a wheelie boy. So he's just sitting there, just like riding a wheelie down the parking lot. And people are like, oh, when's he going to stop? And he had energy for days. So I enjoy taking my boys. I think they have fun. They like riding with me. They really enjoy events like C10 Nationals where I can take kids. And that's the whole purpose of, I enjoy taking people that normally would never get to go autocrossing ever. You get a kid that's 5 or 6 or 8 years old that's scared of what we're doing. I walk up to them and they're just sitting there watching, and you can see their dad. I remember this kid at C10 Nationals Vegas this year, and he was sitting there kind of not head down, but you could tell that he was just like, oh man, I'm not going to get to ride with anybody because my dad has to go with me. I walked up to him and I said, hey, do you want to go for a ride? I said, that's my ride over there. Would you want to go? And he goes, yeah. I told Dad, I said, Dad, go sign him up. I said, get the smallest helmet you can and we'll make this happen. And you know what? We went out there and we took a really slow lap. I said, we're going to go as fast as you want me to go. And he said, okay. So I took him and we did a lap. I said, do you want to go again? He goes, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go a little faster this time. And I did it again. I was like, was that fun? He goes, yeah. And then Dad was like super stoked because I potentially gave the kid that bug, you know what I mean? And that's why I enjoy giving people rides. And that's why I like the Blazer. And there was actually something I want to tell you. I had plans to build a Suburban, autocross Suburban. And the reason why is because I grew up driving the Suburban. I want to build it to take people for rides around every autocross I can. LS Fest, good guys. I want to take 6 people deep in this thing and just drive the crap out of it. And I think it would be a hoot for people to truly experience that feel of a large vehicle going around with multiple people. But I actually want to do it for a good purpose. I want to do it for a charity.
Yeah.
And I actually started a charity with my mom a couple of years back. We really haven't pushed it or promoted it because you've been so busy at work. But it's for babies in the NICU. And I have both of my boys and my daughter, who's no longer with us, were NICU kids. And I know the pressures that we went through having NICU kids because they were in there for almost 3 weeks. And I know a lot of friends that have had their kids in there for months. And I know the stresses and I know the financial burden. So my goal is to bring something back to autocross by being able to provide a ride in something not necessarily the most typical used vehicle, if at all, but it allows you to give people ride in a large capacity, like the Blazer. And I'm just taking the Blazer mentality of being able to give rides and go, why not do it in a Suburban? And make it fast, make it quick, make it able to handle, and just put smiles on people's faces in the autocross. That's my goal.
Now, would that be your bourbon that you have, your okra and white bourbon?
No, no. It would be a full track build. I want it to be a round eye barn door Suburban that I can literally completely gut. It's going to get full cage, no interior, 6 race seats, but the catch is the back. I want 2 rear facing race seats, and I want the barn doors to be quick pinned and they come off at the events. So basically you jump in and you're open air facing backwards in an autocross Suburban. 1,000 horsepower monster. So that's my goal. Yeah.
What is your plans for your Suburban?
My current Suburban, so it's a 73 half ton. I think it's a heavy half. I'm not 100%, but I think it's a heavy half. It's a 454-400 truck, original. And the motor has been replaced, but it was like they put a Vortec 454 in it when the original took a dump. I towed the Blazer early on to the first C10 Nationals in Utah with that Suburban. I had it maybe 2 months back in 2022, 23. And I put it on a little flatbed aluminum trailer my buddy let me use. And I took my boys with me. And it's like the most epic road trip I've done yet with them. And I, during COVID, drove from Morgan Hill to Salt Lake. I just swiped the card. I didn't even want to look at it. 40-gallon tank. I filled up, I think 3 times going out and filled 3 times coming back, or maybe 2.5. But it climbed every hill and it made it without an issue. We slept in the Suburban on the way there, on the way back, because we left right after the event. And I enjoy it. But anyway, my plan, to get to your question, is I actually want to convert it to a 2500 IFS truck. Now, I know it sounds a little sacrilegious, but I have a 2001 Suburban 2500 frame, and I want to put that underneath it. I have an LSX 376 LS that I'm going to convert to an LSX 4, so I can stay with that 454 thought process. And then I have a 4080 with a T case for it, or maybe even a 6-speed. I have two versions that I can run. So I've been on the fence with that. I have an L8T for it if I want to run the 6.6 gas. I like the 454 LSX idea if I could build the motor up, but I want to put it on a modern drivetrain. It's got like a 45-gallon tank already on the frame. So there's a guy that makes the mounts for putting a square somewhat on it. He just doesn't have the back part. What I could do that. But that's what I would like to do with that Suburban. And then I would be able to tow a single car trailer to races with potentially the Blazer or the Z or another truck behind it, and have the 73 as my tow rig.
Yeah, I think you could build that easily, right? You get a beefy rear end.
It's already in it. It's already a 2500 frame and driver. So it's whatever the 2500 Suburban came with in 01.
Oh.
I think it's semi-float. Yeah, it's already got a disc rear end and everything. I was trying to find a quad steer, but I was like, that'd be kind of weird.
The problems. I think 02 to 06 is the rear disc brakes on those big old rear ends.
Yeah.
That's the NBS cat eye style where you can get that. So another thing I want to make sure we talk about, you have your storage unit. How's that going? And then are you doing a Father's Day cruise, or you're doing something with that?
Yeah. Yes. I took the name. Yeah. So I took the name NorCal Garage and I made a garage. I got a shop here in town. I was trying to get a certain building in an area next to some buddies that have shops. And I finally was able to wait patiently for about 3 years to get this building. So I have 8,000 square feet in Morgan Hill. And my primary focus is vehicle storage, mainly classic cars, but I'll take runners and projects in between projects. I even help out some local shops that they do some R&R. They're waiting for an engine. They're waiting for a tranny, and they don't want the vehicle to sit there. So I take it in for a month or 6 weeks, and then they do a cycle. I have some long-termers and I have short-termers. I have people that come and pick it up on every weekend, or sits there for a month and maybe goes out to a track day. I have vintage cars. I have vintage race cars. I have my own stuff in there. So right now I'm housing a little over 30 cars. So that side of the business is going well. And then I've also added more lifts. So I've taken on some builds. So right now I'm actually going to be debuting it soon on my open house on June 20th, coming up next weekend. I've been building a 70 C10 for one of my clients that was referred to me from No Limit. And so we did all No Limit suspension front and back. It's already got an LS in it. We redid the fuel lines and the tank. We did all new brakes from Willwood, did some column shortening and making it more racy, wheels and tires. It looks fantastic. So I'm going to be debuting that on June 20th and giving it to the owner. I'm also building a 68 Firebird for a friend of mine. And that's all speed tech stuff with an LS3. So I'm taking on builds as we go. I have a Mustang lined up to do a full 347 stroker with an overdrive in it. Things are going well. I'm an insurance broker, as I was telling you earlier. And when I'm not doing insurance, I'm either at home or I'm at the shop. It's been a good balance.
Yeah, and your ideas are sometimes outrunning it, and that's what we love, because that makes all of us feel normal, and that's the world we live in, right? We're challenging ourselves all the time. We're pushing it. It's fun. It's more than fun. It's really
It is.
it's awesome. And
Yeah.
and really, it's not just a build. Some guys want to just build them. You're doing all of it. You're building it, you're towing it, you're running it, you're fixing it, you're getting the full experience. And if you can incorporate your kids and your family and that whole experience, just like you grew up, you might not have always thought you loved it, but you probably miss it. And that's what's so cool is when your boys look back, they're like, this was awesome. My dad took me to this. We went to Salt Lake in the Suburban and we slept in the back. And because at the time, because they're still young, right? They were
really young then.
Yeah, you think about it, like even you're 5 years old selling your dad's truck, and your boys are, you don't think about it, but 4 to 10, they're so impressionable. And I saw a bumper sticker once and it said, you only have 18 summers with them, so buy the boat. And you're like, yeah, it hurts. Like,
Yeah.
and honestly, I don't even think you have 18 because they got to get to be 2 or 3. And so you've got an open house on Saturday, the 20th, which is going to be the Saturday before. Is there an open house and a cruise?
Yeah. So I'm having an open house from 7 to 9:30 a.m. And then I have a cruise to follow. And it's only going to be maybe an hour cruise. There's a restaurant out by us off of Highway 9 called Alice's. And I was just going to, hey, let's take some back roads, let's cruise and just have fun. We get there when we get there and take some pictures along the way and just enjoy the day. And the weather looks perfect. So I'm excited. I like getting together. I'm not a huge car show person, but I just like bringing everybody together. And it's like the one weekend I got a free hall pass to do this kind of stuff. So we have like 2 or 3 other shops that are kind of helping contribute to this. So it's not just my shop. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I just kind of want to show off what we're doing. My goal is down the line, kind of show off the OBS frame, debut the truck to my client and throw some smiles up there. So that's my goal.
Awesome. We'll put this one out. We appreciate your time, David. Good luck with all the builds. Can't wait to see the Twisted Obsession. And then obviously coming up with the open house and the cruise. And I hope the client loves it. We can't wait to see what it looks like on the socials. And if you need anything from us, let us know.
Thank you, Ronnie. I appreciate it. And for all those that are listening, you can follow me at NorCal Garage on Instagram or Facebook. And be sure to check it out. If you have any questions about autocross or building a pro touring truck or anything like that, feel free to reach out to myself or Ronnie. Thank you, guys.
That's a wrap. As always, we appreciate your support. We appreciate you tuning in. Give David a follow if you don't already. NorCal Garage. Check him out. Got a rad Blazer and really hits the pavement on that thing and loves tearing it up. And again, it's what it's all about. Like I said earlier, husband, father, son, racer, business guy, dad. He's doing a little bit of everything just like all of us, trying to figure out that balance. All right, guys. Thanks again, David, for your time. You guys for tuning in. Have a great week. Late.